What do you make of the comments, and how would you respond to those?
Well, I think he is being honest. However, my first thought when I heard it is, well, that's why you got Jaro Halak there. If this guy doesn't want to play, then let's get somebody else in there that does. Like, I would be sour. I'm like, man, we're all in here together.
Yes.
If you don't want to play, then. Well, I guess he didn't say he doesn't want to play.
Yeah, I didn't take it that way as he didn't want to play.
Yeah.
I think he just said, listen, there's no
But
fans.
it came
like,
across
I don't know.
as his interest level wasn't
It
exactly
did.
sky high.
It did. But
I
agree.
Guys, if you play with no interest, you're not going to play anywhere near as well.
Well, he's put himself under the gun now because if he starts thinking the joint out, everyone's going to say you weren't even in it anyway. So that's what you deserve.
Yeah,
I think it put now they're asking his teammates, what do you think about this? And man, it's just bad. It's just a bad thing to. He didn't think it through. Put it that way. Mm-hmm. He shouldn't have said anything.
No, and I agree because all you do is shine a light on yourself when you say things like that. And but the guys were saying in the 4 o'clock hour, and they're not wrong. Like, we want people to be honest. We want them to tell us their feelings. We want to know behind the curtain a little bit. And the minute that they do, they get kicked in the pants for it. And I mean, I think Tuukka's a guy who just shoots from the hip. He's pretty honest. Finnish guys are like that. They're pretty laid back. I don't think he was being malicious. He was just being honest.
I also don't think he's alone, guys. I definitely don't think he's alone. I don't know if he's in the minority, and if so, is it 5%, 10%? I guarantee you, though, there's other players that are in the bubble that are like, yeah, I'm with you, man.
This is garbage.
This is weird. Like, I'm here to
however,
play.
So don't play then.
Right.
Well, opt out. Let the other guy play. The other guy will play his ass off.
Yeah.
Look, Tuukka Rask is a better goalie than Jaro Halak. I'd rather have Jaro Halak in net if Tuukka Rask can't muster up the energy to play or the interest to play.
Amen.
But he's been very good in both games. Like, he hasn't been a problem. That's the thing. Like, in game 1, I thought he was fantastic, and in game 2, I don't lay that Dougie Hamilton game winner on him. Like, I think if he becomes a problem and is not good, then you go, this guy's head isn't into it. This guy played back-to-back games and didn't have a problem with it. Like, I think it's just that, we take his comments out of context because you're like, this guy he's just being honest. Like,
well, he's also the last example he had of playing in a playoff game was Game 7 at home in the Cup final. Mm-hmm. So if you're comparing it and contrasting to literally the last experience you had, obviously it's a lot different.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm sure Charo would tell you that in a candid moment. Bergeron. Like, they're playing in Toronto, right? In front of no fans. But,
right.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's harder for the older guys than the younger guys. But I don't know. I'm just thinking as a player, I'd be a little sour if my teammate was kind of like thinking this is look,
right.
I'm aware it's goofy. I get it. But we're trying to compete for a cup, and every bit as important this year, we're trying to put $400 million back in the kitty so we don't have to pay for everything.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very intriguing point there, Ray, in terms of marketing and the importance of players to represent the league. Because I would think maybe as much as the Bruins may have raised an eye, I'll guarantee you the league is like, Tuka, don't do this, man. Like, we are trying to push forth a product that gets people excited. And if you're telling them we don't feel excited playing, how are you expecting fans to feel overly excited watching? Like, that is – I would love to be a fly on the wall with Bettman and company after they heard the quote. Because you can't fine him for it. Of course not. It's honest. He's just answering the question. But it's almost the worst thing a player could say right now.
That's a PR guy for the Bruins, Brian, saying, you know what, maybe in the future.
It's even the Ligo is what I'm saying. Like, it's, guys, there's companies that are paid a fortune to put on the games.
Yeah.
I know you think it's an exhibition, but if the fans start thinking that it is, our numbers are probably going to show it.
Well, I'll be honest, I haven't. I mean, maybe there is it, or maybe that there is examples of it, but I've thought the hockey not like that. Like, I've thought it's been invested in intense, and it's different, and it's a little goofy, and You know, like when you see a puck fly over the glass and it hits those tarps on the side, you know, you can't hide what it is. But I think it's been
pretty good.
I think it's been really good stuff, actually.
Yeah, it has been. It's been pretty fun. Like, and I've enjoyed it. And I was saying earlier, I'm having a tough time keeping up with everything because there's so many games.
Yeah.
And, you know, games get moved around, schedules are getting moved around, games are starting later. But that's a good thing. You know, that's a part of the ride. And on a day like today, we got 3 Canadian teams playing, and the Habs are up late. Looks like they're going to tie that series.
Did they dominate today?
Big time.
Not even close.
Yeah.
That's
I don't
a
know
good
if you guys
sign.
saw the start. Oh my gosh, it was. I think the shots were like 12-0, and shot attempts were 23-2.
Yeah, they've been all over Philly. Yeah. I was just going to go back to the Rask thing too, guys. I was just thinking this, like. This is also a goaltender that was sitting there in his gear waiting to play, and the game got bumped to 11 a.m. the next day.
Right.
Like, you know, it is. And I defended not him, but I also said, like, I don't think the players feel that way when guys are getting hit from behind and punched in the face. And to me, there's been some scrums there. Like, Tuukka's not feeling that because he's not in them. He's not getting roughed up. He's not getting slashed. You know, McAvoy gets hit from behind by Svechnikov. You know, Chris Wagner gets run from behind. Like, those guys wouldn't echo the sentiments that Tuukka Rask has echoed or has said. But it has been a little bit of a weird feel. Like I say, you know, those guys are, you know, it's been that tournament feel where, you know, you're waiting because there's another team playing on the ice in front of you, and that team's an NHL team. Like, I can't imagine being at the rink and, like, Ray, and I don't want to exclude you, Brian. But,
go ahead, Noodles.
Okay,
You wouldn't be the first one.
Here's a prime example. Have you guys played at Madison Square Garden or Boston when there's been an afternoon basketball game or the circus or something? Like, I know for a fact, like, I remember being at the Boston Garden and wrestling was there. Like, as I walked in for the game, and they still had to change over.
There's always been a hard court at Madison Square Garden. They got to get it out of there and get it ready for the game.
Right. Like, so that's the only time I've ever felt like weird. It's like, yeah, there's fans here watching the Knicks play, and we play 3 hours from now. Like, other than that, it's like all hockey all the time. Like, these guys are showing up to the rink, and there's another playoff game going on, and you know, some guys are in the stands. Some guys are, you know, as they're stretching or watching it on TV. It's just been I can't imagine if it hasn't been a normal
even to get to your room, you're walking through other teams.
Yeah.
Like, there was that picture that was released last week of John Tavares walking through the Bruins, I think. I think the Bruins were in between intermissions or something, and they were getting ready to walk back out on the ice, and there's Tavares, like, trying to sneak through the crowd. And
it is weird.
It would be strange. No question. And I think you still got to give it some more time. Like, we're only a couple games into the first round here. I know the qualifying round counted for something. It did. Right. But let's see where we're at in a couple of weeks when the cup is within reach, right? I think it will become that much more real. And in terms of the Canadian teams, again, with all 3 playing, the Habs are going to tie it up 1-1. Vancouver's up 1-0 in their series against St. Louis. And Calgary's tied at 1 with Dallas. So I would say, you know, the Canadian teams are looking pretty decent at this point. Which one do you have the most faith in, Ray, to either get through this round, but furthermore, just go on a bit of a run? Is there one in particular?
Well, I would have put Montreal third, but I'm watching them play today, and I'm like, holy crap, do they look good. Like, really, Kotkaniemi just scored again, just a beautiful goal.
Yeah, it was a nice goal.
And you know, and I don't know. I think Philly will beat Montreal, but man, I'm really impressed. A little bit of the stuff we're talking about with Rask, I wonder about St. Louis. You know, will they? You know, can they find a gear? Or they haven't won since, you know, what have they played? 4 games. They haven't won yet. And so I wonder about them. Like, could Vancouver get through? And then Calgary and Dallas, that's a funny series to me. Like, I don't know. If Matthew Tkachuk can't play, I think Calgary's in a little bit of trouble. I'm more impressed with how Calgary has has played defensively under Jeff Ward. And I think they can beat Dallas. Dallas just doesn't score enough for me. So I think 2 of the 3 teams can get through. I would have never picked Montreal till what I'm watching now.
Yeah, and that might be recency bias, but full credit to them. Like not to mention what they did in the first round, right? Like
and not an easy day today with Claude Julien. Not on the bench today, and it sounds like he's doing well, and and that's awesome to hear. But with Kirk Muller coaching, and they come out and they're the best team by miles here, and in this game, and I'm watching Konechny go off the ice, he blocked a shot, and things turn south in a hurry in a playoff series, man, maybe this is the way Montreal can play.
Well,
yeah,
I mean, you got a goalie that gives you a chance, and then Domi is starting to look better. I'll be honest.
They finally moved him up in the lineup.
But he's been farther down too. He's been playing a fourth line shift still, but he gets power play time. Yeah, but I think there's more there. It just depends on health has been a big issue, and you need saves. And Shea Weber looks like Shea Weber, and that bench.
He looks mean. Hey, he looks mean, man.
Yeah,
that doesn't look like much fun.
No, that's what you invest in. Like that's what you want out of a guy like him.
Yeah, like that's a father figure going into the scrum, going, that's enough, folks. Like, and that's he's done it. Chara did it when Svechnikov ran McAvoy last night, and same thing. Like that grizzled vet that gives you a chance. Like Montreal, they're just skating today. That's what they're.
Yeah, that goes a long way for sure. With Ray Ferraro, our TSN hockey analyst, we haven't caught up with you since Monday when we all reacted to the Leaf game on Sunday. But they spoke on Wednesday. Dubas, Shanahan, Keefe, a bunch of the players. I'm sure you caught a lot of the clips.
Yeah.
What stood out to you? What did you make of the end of season kind of breakdown from the team?
Kind of the way I felt like they dug their heels in a bit, and like with Dubas saying, no, we've got the right makeup. Like, no, this style is the right style. Almost like they felt a real need to to defend their way and their style and their way of building a team and some of the players. Like, that's what I took mostly out of it. That, and when he said Cody Ceci's internal analytics would change everyone's idea.
Right, which no one wants to hear that. And
I was like, there is not an analytic that – when he took that shot, I think it was in Game 4 that missed the net by 45 feet.
Yeah.
Like, there's no analytic that's going to tell me anything different about that.
No, and actually, that's a good point in terms of the previous point you just made about how they actually feel about things. Because I think Cody Ceci actually might be the perfect case study, where if they bring him back, which I don't see how they possibly could, but if they do, that would mean they truly believe the analytics that they have and the stats, and they are married to them. Like, they're not allowing the eye test. They're not allowing reality to seep in.
What are the stats on him that are so positive?
Well, they claim that they've got him behind closed doors and no one else has him. And he didn't engage on that. He didn't offer up any more details. But if they bring him back, that would indicate they really, truly are true believers. And if they let him walk, then it's like, what were you doing? Like, why did you go out of your way to defend Cody Ceci when you knew he was out the door anyway?
Yeah.
Like, how would that make any sense in retrospect?
I don't care what those numbers are. No one else in the National Hockey League would buy into those numbers watching his performance.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if Dubas, I hope he doesn't, but if he does and Ceci returns, wait till you see the reaction on that.
One other thing I think is that almost in anything sports related, but really in life, is if there's no balance, it doesn't work. And like it just doesn't work. And so when I look at this in relation to how the Leafs are, they have no balance almost anywhere. Like, they have no balance from the top of the lineup to the bottom of the lineup. They have no balance from the forwards to the defensemen. They have no balance from the top of the salary cap to the bottom of the salary cap. They don't have any balance from skill to, I'll call it, backbone players. Like, there's no balance in any of it. And in their comments, it seemed to me that they're firm in their belief that this way is going to work.
Why?
And I don't see it quite the same, because however you want to decipher player to player to player, I don't see the balance in their lineup that all good teams seem to have.
Yeah, I share the same viewpoint, and I don't know what is coming this offseason. I can tell you, based on his defense of Mitch Marner's not going anywhere, and I don't think that's a surprise. But Matthews isn't going anywhere. Tavares isn't going anywhere. But I would say, and this happens, I think, in every market, and it happens in Toronto all the time with different eras of players. People focus on one guy, and it's like, that guy's got to go, as if he's the issue. And I think that's the wrong mentality. I think what needs to be found is what you're talking about, Ray. You've got to find the pieces you want, and then find out what the price is, and then make a determination on whether or not you're willing to pay it. And that doesn't mean you're running a guy out of town. Like, Nylander's always the poster boy. You got to trade Nylander. No one says what you're looking for or what you're going to get. And that would suggest Nylander is the problem. He's not the problem. Like, there isn't one problem. There isn't one guy who's causing all the issues. You've got to go and find what you're looking for to fill out this roster. And when that opposing GM or team tells you what the price is, then you make a determination on whether or not you're willing to pay it. And if it's Marner, so be it. If it's Nylander, so be it. Doesn't mean that they're bad guys. It means you're filling out a roster, and this is big business in pro hockey. That's the way it works.
Given $38 million with the 4 forwards, it seems difficult to me to have $9 million tied up in your third line. $9 million plus.
Right.
So to me, something's got to give there.
Yeah, I would be shocked if Janssen, Kerfoot, Kapanen are all back. Shocked.
It just doesn't seem to be workable in that way, because you're going to need dollars for your defense. Like that, man. We can skirt around it. Like, that definitely has to upgrade. And how much of an upgrade will Rasmus Sandin be? I guess we're going to find out. Mm-hmm. But past him, like, if you have a defense with Dermott and Sandin and Hall, like, are you a cup contender?
No,
not when you look at what Boston puts out there.
Carolina
and St. Louis,
like,
and
now you can, if you believe that those players are part of your defense, and you go and get somebody in free agency or through a trade at the top to play with Morgan Riley, or can literally, solidify. And I'm not talking like, I thought Mark Bergevin made a savvy move with a guy like Ben Sherratt. I think he gave him like $3.5 million, but Sherratt's a really good player, but he's like a 3. He's not a top pairing guy, but he does play top pairing. I just look at, you need somebody, and I know it may not be a household name, and that's kind of what Kyle was saying to us. He's like,
yes,
it doesn't have to be a household name. Well, I would think if you want to scare people, like, going and getting a Cody Ceci type is not going to make your team better. Like, you need somebody who had a name. Like, Tyson Barrie had a name. He did.
And it didn't matter.
It didn't work. Like, he didn't play well enough for Toronto this year. I still believe he'll land on his feet somewhere, personally.
Oh, yeah, he's still in the NHL next year for sure.
Absolutely.
He might have to take a one-year deal, though, kind of a prove-it deal somewhere and find a good situation and double down. I wouldn't be shocked if he was contemplating that. But you look at, and not everyone is built the same way. There's a new Cup winner every year, generally speaking. There's a different team that has a different look. So focusing on the one leader, it doesn't always make sense, and it may not be fair. But you look at Boston, which is the team that I think the Leafs are most connected to because of what's happened over the past few years. Their top 4 is Chara, McAvoy, Carlo, Krug. That's their top 4. Like, Jake Muzzin would be on their third pair. He would be.
Yeah.
He'd be on their third pairing. Justin Hall wouldn't make the team. Mm-hmm. He just wouldn't. Like, that's not a shot at Hall. Hall would make the team for 15 other teams in the league, 20 teams. Not on Boston. Would not be on the third pair. That's how good that team is. That's what you're chasing. It's tough.
And so I guess they're not going to sit there and throw themselves over the cliff publicly, but I think there's there's got to be certainly an open-minded look to what they're doing and whether it can be successful or not. For me, as I said a couple times, it just comes back to balance. I just don't think they have enough of it.